you ever felt limited by a place, person, or job that left you feeling trapped and stuck and frustrated, and you were 100% certain that it was definitely the fault of that place, person, or job, and if you could just change it, then everything would get better? And yet, when you did change that job, that relationship, or that place, within a few weeks or months, you found yourself facing the same issues within totally different situations as you were slowly overcome by a creeping sense of dread. And it's at this point that many of us have thrown up our hands and asked the classic question, why does this keep happening to me? As the great psychologist Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's why in today's episode, we are diving into simple shadow work prompts that can help you to start to transform the unconscious into conscious and have really powerful impacts in your life for inner healing and peace. I'll share my personal story about this, and OMG, I have some stories for you on this one. I deeply relate if this is something you have experienced in your own life, so listen on for that. I'll also provide some practical steps you can use to either start or deepen your own journey with integrating your shadow and doing shadow work. Welcome to We Are Already Free, the podcast helping down-to-earth seekers to release fear, overcome self-doubt, and step back into the wonder and joy of a purposeful life where we remember that we are already free. I'm your host, Nathan Maingard, and it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. When you hear the words, we are already free, what comes up for you?
Acceptance.
The shift in awareness.
Human beings are so powerful.
There's so much more.
Everything is love behind it.
Breaking the chains of your own mind.
That which remains.
Nature.
Getting out of the matrix.
We're sitting on the treasure and it's already unlocked.
We are already free.
You're free.
You are a walking map.
Have always been free.
You are always free, already free.
We are already free.
An important piece before I dive into this episode is that it's inspired by a song I wrote many years ago called In the Shadows. So I'll be speaking about this song, which is really all about shadow work and the deep inner process of coming to meet and face our shadows. I'll be speaking about that and some of the lyrics during this episode. And then, as I said, I'll get into the value of these shadow work prompts that will be really valuable to you. And finally, I'll share some of the benefits of shadow work. And at the end of the episode, I'll play the whole song for you so you can hear the whole thing and have that insight. So here we go. I look forward to it and enjoy the episode. Imagine walking the misty streets of San Francisco. The year is 2012, and I was lost. I was lost physically, emotionally. I had been playing music professionally just for maybe just over a year, actually about a year and a half. And I had done that thing that I had done so many times before. I was in South Africa. I started playing music professionally. Things started to feel a bit uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, guess it's the people, the place, the work. Like it just needs to shift. So I'll go back to California where I love and I've spent time before. So off I went to California, and I'm now wandering the misty streets of San Francisco. So misty I could barely see. And I was seeing all these different kinds of people that live in San Francisco walking out of the mist. You know, there would be like the guy on the street getting high in his dirty clothes and looking a little crazy. And then right next to him would be the smart businessman in a suit, sort of looking very purposeful and heading down the street. And then there'd be the hipsters and the hippies and all these different groups of people. And they were all coming in and out of my view in the mist. And it was reflecting how lost I felt in myself. And that's when this first line of this song came into my head, the song that has become In the Shadows, which is all about what we're talking about today, about shadow work and shadow work prompts and how to use shadow work as a way to heal. And in that moment, this line came up. It's like, it felt hard to open my eyes. It felt hard to see the world because it physically was. And I was like, I feel like I've been blind for so long. I don't know how to see anymore. And the question came up, this craziness that I'm seeing out here in the world, is this craziness the world or is it me? And it was this question that I started to ask. And what happened after that is I realized like I need support. I need support to go deep into myself and do this healing work to heal these old wounds of self-doubt and limiting beliefs and low self-esteem and self-sabotage. And so I called up a beautiful man named Paul who lives in London. He's a much older man who's a teacher and a facilitator. And I had worked with him briefly in 2010. But again, as things got a little uncomfortable, what did Nathan do? I was like, well, it must be the people, the place, the work. And I left London, went back to South Africa. And is there a pattern here that's starting to make itself clear to you? And so I called Paul up from San Francisco and I said, look, Paul, if I come back to London specifically to work with you, would you take me on again? Would you be willing to work with me? So he's a transformational guide. He works with breathwork, all these different things. And he said, yes. He said, please come. And so I was still playing music professionally, but I moved back to London and I started working as an open mic host at an amazing night in Camden Town and various other odd jobs and playing shows and started growing my Patreon page. But through all of that, I was working with Paul. And that's where I first was introduced to the power of things like breathwork and dream reading and all these different things that he was helping me with. And I started doing shadow work, thanks to the shadow work prompts that he would give me, the questions that he would ask me, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. So please do listen on for the practical steps of how you can start your own practice with shadow work using prompts. And so I started working with Paul and things started to shift. And these lessons that I was getting, because I made the decision, this was the important decision I had to make, was instead of running away from the shadows, the parts of myself that I didn't like, or the things I thought were external to me that I didn't like. Instead of running away from those, I decided to own 100% responsibility and turn my gaze inward to realize that it's me. I'm the common denominator. I can keep changing. I could go from Cape Town to London to Cornwall to California to Southern California to Northern California. I can keep bouncing from place to place thinking that, oh, well, it must be the people, the place, or the jobs. Or I can realize that I am the common denominator. And that's when this verse came to me, the second verse where I talked about being trapped inside of a cage, trapped in a construct inside a cage. And I'm beating at the door of the cage, trying to get out, let me out, let me out, let me out. But if I just stop and open my hand, inside the fist that I was using to beat on the door, inside the fist is the key to the door that's always been in my own hand. And to realize that the cage is a myth. The pain is a teacher. The pain that I'm going through, physical, emotional, whatever it is, that is a teacher. It is a guide. And the cage that I feel so trapped in is just a myth that I've created because, look, I have the key in my own hand to unlock it. And that key is shadow work and the associated processes that come around that. So that's what I wrote that song about. And I'll share the song at the end of this episode. So you'll have that after you've got the kind of practical steps to get into your own shadow work. So I'm recording this in the morning because I've been so excited and I'm kind of still a bit sleepy, but I've been thinking about it all night and I really wanted to share this with you. So here we are. So I moved to London and I finished this song that had started in San Francisco. And the final verse of the song talks about this idea that we can't avoid the rain. We can try. We could be in a storm and there's all this rain falling and we can try dodging the raindrops. If I just stay energetic, I don't have to get wet. I don't have to get cold. But actually, the medicine, the invitation is, what if I open my mouth? What if I turn my face towards the rain? I open my mouth and I let the drops fall on my tongue and I just joyfully surrender to the rain. And in this case, the rain is representing that shadow. What if I turn towards my shadow? And in the song, I talk about the demons and those aspects, the darker aspects of ourselves. That's what the shadow represents. It's the parts we've pushed away, the one who maybe we judge, who we think you're a coward or you're not good enough or you think ugly thoughts or whatever those things are. That's those pieces we push away, we push down. But what we push down can only then live in the shadows and in the darkness. So this shadow work and these shadow work prompts is about bringing that part back into the light and allowing it to integrate. And there's deep healing in that. The results of that are really powerful. So that's my story and it's ongoing, and for me personally, I found that getting support was the piece that I needed. I couldn't really do it alone. So that's one of the things I do highly recommend. But in my own journey of starting to do breathwork practices and work with Paul and do dream reading, all the things that I now support people with as a guide, which is so amazing. That's one of the things is when I started working with Paul, he said after a few sessions, he said, look, Nathan, I know you're doing music as your profession, but it feels important that I tell you that this work that I'm doing is a calling for you. You could do this work and it would be really good for you. It would be really powerful. You would be really good at it and you could help a lot of people. And I I was like, thank you, Paul, that's really sweet. And I ignored him completely for like 10 years. And it only took until I really crashed and burned and had a full dark night of the soul, really went down into the rock bottom basically of my own emotional journey and my dark night of the soul, that I then let go of the identity of who I thought I should be. And so I could blossom into the truth of who I really am, which is one of the things I help people with now in my work. And so, yeah, just knowing that this journey is step by step, it takes the time that it takes. There's no rush really, but there are these beautiful exercises that can help. So we'll get into that next. And there's so much more to this journey that I could share with you, but I really want to keep it focused and valuable for you. So if you do want to hear more details, you're welcome to reach out, and I'm happy to share a bit more of these stories of the shadow work, because like this is just scratching the surface. Now we're going to go into the importance of journaling and how that can relate to shadow work, and specifically the shadow work prompts that I'll be sharing with you in a moment. When we journal, we allow ourselves to take the conscious and unconscious parts of ourselves, like the creativity and the practicality, and we can allow it to come through and actually speak to ourselves. Because in a way, these different parts are like, they're parts of us, but they each have their own identities and perspectives. And so when we can do journaling and use shadow work prompts, we can actually allow those parts to have their own voice without judgment. Maybe even if there is judgment, but we still allow that part to come through and start to communicate with us through these kinds of prompts. So without further ado, here are the prompts that I suggest and recommend that you do as a journaling practice, even just after this podcast episode. Maybe sit down and write these down. I'll also have them linked in the show notes if you want to get a free download of a little worksheet that gives you the prompts, and then you can just follow along with that if that feels easier for you, because I know how it is listening to podcasts sometimes, like, oh, I don't remember what everything is. So be sure you can always check in the show notes and just follow the link there to get that done. So the first one of the shadow work prompts is, what are the shadow parts that need attention right now? And just give yourself a moment when you're writing that down to just feel into that. What are the parts of you that you've pushed away or hidden or don't want to look at or see or feel, and actually invite them to come through and say, what are parts of me want attention right now that I've been ignoring? Another good question, which can be a little less like maybe intense or specific, but what am I resisting right now? What am I resisting right now? And that's obviously looking at, what are the parts of my life? What are the relationships? What are the job? What are the things in my job? The parts that I have pushed outward and gone, oh, it's the job, it's the person, it's the place that I'm in. What of those could you be resisting in yourself? And just see what comes up with that question. Another great question is, what family patterns am I afraid of repeating? Now, this is really powerful because we know that epigenetics says that whatever our parents or grandparents or even their parents went through can be epigenetically stored in the DNA. This has been proven in scientific studies that we can actually express, our genes can express responses to traumas that we never experienced. So those family lineages get passed on both in the genetics and also in behavior patterns. So what are the patterns that I'm afraid that I'm going to be repeating that have been handed to me by my lineage? And again, without judgment, just allowing those to come through so you can start to build this relationship with the shadow, with those darker parts. What are they here to bring you? What are they here to teach? Which brings us into the next question, which is one of my favorite questions. It can be really uncomfortable and really weird, but it's super powerful. And that is, if the shadowy parts of me were actually my best friend, what might that best friend be trying to help me with? What would the gift be that my friend is trying to bring me, even though it's doing it in a way that feels really uncomfortable, that might be full of fear or judgment or pain? Even with all of that, if my shadow was actually a best friend that was just trying to help, what might the gift be that it's trying to bring to me? And again, this is a really powerful exercise because we so often judge those parts of ourselves. But what if they are friends? What if they are the teachers, the invisible teachers coming to help us to grow and blossom into our true purpose, who we really are, what we're really meant to dedicate this life to and embody in this life? And here's the final question for now. If I integrated my shadow, or if I made peace or made friends with my shadow, what might I be able to bring into the world with the energy that frees up? So in another way to say, if I stopped all this energy of resisting this part of myself, this shadowy part of myself, if I freed up that energy by integrating that part, making peace with that part, healing that part, what could I bring into the world? What would that energy allow me to bring into the world? And just sit with that and allow some of that vision to come through of what that might mean for you to integrate and not have to resist that part of yourself anymore. So those are some foundational shadow work prompts that can get you started on your journey. Two other like bonus things that have been, well, for me, absolutely necessary. Like I don't think I could have done it with just writing down journal prompts, although that's a really great way to start bringing awareness. But what I call boundless breath work, which is basically a circular breathing practice that really powerfully transforms one state of being. Now, this is something you can practice alone, and I'm actually putting together a short guided audio file. It might even be a video that you'll be able to download for free. So please do check the show notes. I'm not sure if it will be ready yet by the time this episode comes out, but I will add it to the show notes whenever it is ready. So either way, just when you're listening to this, check the show notes. And if you want it, ask me for it, comment on the post. I'll be sure to send it to you when it's ready. Either way, boundless breathwork is basically circular breathing where we're lying down and we're just breathing in a circle, and it goes deep into our nervous systems. It goes deep into our being and our spirit and our history. And it is one of the biggest medicine journeys I've ever been on is regular breathwork practices. And it can really help to allow those shadowy pieces to come up and release the trauma through the body without having to think about it, having to think and wonder, is this the right thing? What's this connected to? But actually just have the breathing experience, release whatever needs to release, and feel the integration of that shadow to have that extra energy to be able to bring more of what you're here to bring into the world. And the final piece that I recommend, the bonus here, is to seek professional help. So many of us are living the deep trauma and the deep wound of isolation. Trauma happens in isolation, and the healing for that is connection. Connection is one of the greatest healing powers in the universe. I believe this 100%. And for me, that's been true. So going to work with Paul in London, I had to really let go of my resistance, my fear of being seen, all the dark, ugly parts of myself. And even more so when I started working with plant medicines and deepening these practices, doing group breathwork sessions, going and being facilitated and supported by community. So if you haven't yet, please do join a men's circle, join a women's circle, go to a therapist who is conscious and understands about shadow work and consciousness medicines, etc. And work with me. I'm here. This is the work that I do. I've walked this path. I know what it's like to run away from my shadow for many, many, many years. And I know the pain that comes from that. And I know the tools that have really worked and can work for you to transform that and integrate those parts of yourself. So please do seek professional support. It's okay to need help. We all need help, and you're beautiful. Your willingness to ask for help is an honoring of all the parts of you, of how worthy you are of love and worthy you are of being cared for and supported in your own journey. So finally, just a few of the benefits of shadow work. Shadow work can really help to increase self-awareness. So really learning more about who you really are, which can give you the capacity to be more present in your life, in your relationships, in your work, in where you live, etc. Shadow work is also completely connected to emotional healing. So all of those deep pains, those wounds that we carry with us invisibly and secretly getting heavier and heavier, shadow work can start to integrate those pieces and release those old stories so that we can, again, fully live now. And really, just at a deep level, shadow work is actually light work. This is part of the challenge that we're faced today in sort of new age spirituality. You know, good vibes only, think happy thoughts, be positive all the time. That's only one side of the story. This is why my signature program that I take people through is called Root and Rise. It's why the retreat that I'm running with my wife later this year is called Root and Rise. It's because the only way for us to truly rise is that we root down deep. And where do our roots go? They go into the darkness, into the shadows. And it's through being willing to allow our roots to get their sustenance from the darker parts of all the deep, rooty, loamy, moist soil that is deep inside of the earth and inside of our beings, that allows us to rise high, the tree of ourself to rise high into the sky, raise its arms and its leaves and bear beautiful fruit for all to be nourished by. The only way that happens is through that deep rooting. We root so we can rise. We cannot have one without the other. Anyway, I think you understand what I'm saying here. So that's all for today. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've discussed the importance of embracing our shadows and how we can do that through shadow work prompts. I shared some of my own story around my experience of running away again and again and again and again, and always finding exactly the same experiences because, hey, I'm the one who's the common denominator in that story. So I hope that this has been of service to you. And I hope that these shadow work prompts can serve you in your own journey of integration and healing and well-being. And please do make use of them. Make use of the boundless breath work. Go to the show notes to download the prompts for these questions and sit with them and let me know what comes up for you. Please do. You can always go to alreadyfree.me. This will be episode 61. So you'll be able to find that at alreadyfree.me/61. And you can comment, let me know what came up for you. How did it feel? And if that feels a little too personal, you can also go to that same link and there's a little chat box where you can send me a private message that no one else will see, because I know this stuff can be really intense, having done a lot of the work and also felt really ashamed about it for a long time. I didn't want anyone to know about all my darkness. Please remember, more than anything, this journey of transformation is not about the destination. We say this so much, but it is so true. Why do we go on a beautiful hike? Why do we listen to a song? Why do we dance a dance? As Alan Watts says, life is much more like a dance than it's like a journey. A dance, we dance for the experience, not to get to the end. A song we listen to listen to the song, not to get to the end. So this is kind of what our life is like. And a journey can also be like that if we realize that the journey is for its own sake. That's what the beauty of it is to be on the journey in this step, in this moment. So please remember that these shadow work prompts are really just an invitation for you to become more of yourself and to enjoy this process of blossoming into this rooted, rising tree that you came here to be. If you haven't yet left a review for this podcast, please do so. It helps me to put my shadows to sleep, the ones that tell me that I'm not worthy and I should stop podcasting and I should never speak another word. I'm kidding. But at the end of the day, it really makes a huge difference. I know that you're listening and the podcast is landing and having a positive effect. And it also allows me to put testimonials up on my website and share them on social media and let more people know that this is a podcast that they should listen to. It also really helps me to get better guests. So if you want to hear more amazing guests on this podcast, like some of those we've had in the past, then please do just go to alreadyfree.me/review and leave a review. The next step now is to take action, because so many of us listen to these episodes, read these books and go, oh, that's very nice. I should do something about that someday. And then it all just disappears. So take a deep breath, release it, and use that energy to take action. Go to the show notes, alreadyfree.me/61, and download the worksheet and sit with it. Take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to sit with those parts of yourself. Let me know in the comments what results you get. Send me a chat. And I hope you've enjoyed. This is a different style of the podcast. Obviously, it's a solo episode, so I'd love to hear how that lands for you as well. But for now, I wish you well. I wish you blessings. Thank you. All of you is welcome here, the light and the shadow. And now please enjoy this version of me playing In the Shadows, which you will have so much more insight into after listening to this episode. So enjoy the song. I'll see you next week. And as always, please remember, we are already free.
It's hard to open up my eyes when I feel like I've been blind all of my days. Now I'm wandering through the haze, and the world, it looks so crazy. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me. We all find our secrets, patient in the shadows, right there where we left them waiting. And no matter how far we run, they run right beside us. Our demons know our names better than anyone. Trapped within this construct, beating at the locked up door and grip tight. Deep within my fist is the key to all I've missed. That the pain is just a teacher and the cage is just a myth. We all find our secrets, patient in the shadows, right there where we beside us, our demons know our names better than anyone. Lie, 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 lie. I spend oh so many hours building up and giving power to the worst I can imagine lives in me. Now, oh, to my surprise, when the ghost as me disguised is the best at breaking everything, everything, everything I dream. Lie, 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 lie. You who presume you can stay dry by dodging all the raindrops falling thick, try lifting up your tongue to the rain, not just the sun. Nothing quite so simple was ever so much fun. We all find our secrets, patient in the shadows, right there where we left them waiting. No matter how far we run, they run right beside us, our demons know our names. We all find our secrets, patience in the shadows, right there where we left them waiting. No matter how far we run, they run right beside us, our demons know our names.